a lot of pride when you're doing that, and for a lot of us who want to write, there's one gentleman here who's writing a book. There is another person I remember who published a book, so huge moment. A Fly on the Wall, that's the title of the book, guys, and you have a chance to meet the author, listen to her, and also grab signed copies. I think it's a very prestigious moment for a lot of people to actually get signed copies from an author, right? So, yay, to a fly on the wall. So when Ravi, of course you guys know me, right? When Ravi told me that I had to interview you, he gave me a set of 10 to 12 questions.
Okay.
And I told him to delete that message because I didn't want to ask any of them. Yeah. So let's begin with knowing a little bit about you. Let's just say we called one of your best friends, right now, and asked her about you. How would that friend, define you or talk about you? How will she introduce Mini Menon?
They're right here. They can introduce me.
No, but we want to hear it from you. We want to know, what do your friends think about you as an individual first?
Well, I think they would probably think of somebody who's quiet and also very talkative. So I think it would be a kind of somebody who's quiet, who's talkative, who has a mind of her own, who would gel into a group. So there is both the sides to me, and they would know both of my sides, I think.
Wow, that's very nice to know. So how was Minnie as a child in school?
So in school, I think I was one of those middle children, not the first bencher, not the last bencher. I used to sit right in the middle. And I think I was almost invisible in the class, you could say, because it would be like, in our times, there used to be around 50 children in a class. So, obviously the teacher wouldn't be able to connect to them. So somebody who's extremely naughty, the teacher would be absolutely connected. Her ears would be all up trying to figure. Somebody who's good, obviously. So I think I was that kind of a child, and I think that was an advantage to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the reason why I ask you that is because, a lot of times when you're a child, things like you wanting to become an author or a sports person or something to do in psychology, all of that, right? A lot of it starts brewing when you're a child, right? Mm-hmm. In your case as an author, when did it strike you that you wanted to write and, tell the world about your poems?
So I don't know whether I ever wanted to tell the world about my poems, but writing, I think I always loved reading a lot, and I think even childhood I loved writing. But it was never in the public. It was always only for me to, it was for me, not for anybody else. And I think when I was about 35 or 40, I must have really started writing.
Okay.
So that's when the poetry, and I realized that I loved concising them rather than writing a long thing. I felt that was very challenging for me. I enjoyed that exercise of trying to concise whatever my thoughts are. So I think that's when it started.
Wow, that's really nice. So who was your favorite author? You used to read a lot when you were a kid, right?
Yeah. So as the kids of 80s and 90s, or not 90s, I should say 80s and 70s, it was Enid Blyton. We hardly got to read Indian authors ever. So it was Enid Blyton mostly. I loved her work, and William Wordsworth, the poet.
Of course.
So it's all those W.H. Davis and, those kind of poets, all the English poets basically.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. So, at what point in time did you write your first poem, and, who was the first person you read it to?
That's... I don't know. I really don't know when I wrote my first poems, because I would have written many a times as a child, but it was never... I myself thought of it not as a poem, because we were so used to the poems of the English, all the William Wordsworth. So we always felt that poems was very rigid. at that point, because there were rules to be followed, they were to be written in a certain manner and everything. So I think I was when I was working with an organization called Genie Kids, that's where we all come from, and that's when I realized that you don't have to be in a box. You can always move out of the box and you still can, exist.
True.
So that, I think, broke open a lot of things. And otherwise, if somebody tells us to write a poem, we would always try to rhyme the words. We're trying to busy rhyme it rather than put our thoughts into the poem. So I think that.
I remember I used to do that. The last word always has to rhyme with the last word of the following line.
So in my book, I do have one or two poems like that, which I couldn't shrug off, because that was my yardstick of saying, okay, I'm a poet, kind of thing.
Lovely. Great. So let's talk about the journey of writing. Obviously, when you started writing, the entire book or even a poem for that matter does not come at one go. There's a lot of rewriting. There's a lot of moments where you actually crumple. Whatever you write, you sort of crumple it on a piece of paper and throw it in the bin, right? Which, in my opinion, by the way, is actually has a lot more meaning than what's there on the book. By the way, I mean, that's my personal thought. But when you started writing, what were some of the key challenges that you came across? Was there ever a point in time where you said that let's not do this? Yeah. So can you just walk us through the journey?
Yeah. So the thing is, I never wrote hoping that one day I'll publish a book. I just wrote because I enjoyed the process, and I never crushed any of my work and threw it in the dustbin. I mean, of course, I had a book which I constantly, like you will find about 10-15 pages writing and rewriting, writing and rewriting. So that would happen, and so I think the thoughts were something that stayed with me until I put it into a book. I never felt at peace. So I needed to get that going, and I think validation was something that I was seeking, which was very difficult, because poetry is a genre. Unless you see, now you have a platform like this, at least somebody will let you know that, okay, this makes sense, doesn't make sense. So I think my poor husband, who had read Coromandel Fishers, was the one who always listened to my poems, and I think that's when, and I send it to my friends sometimes for them to read it and give their opinion.
Did they ever tell you, Minnie, this is not good enough, do better? And if they did, how did you get past that?
Okay. No, I don't think anybody really told me it's too bad, because she's a psychologist, they're both, she's the counselor. So I found people who are not real poets, so I think that so they really encouraged me, and I think whatever I did is thanks to them. They really, in fact, I think I was very hesitant to publish, so I think Padma was the one who said, no, it's very nice, people are going to, I think she was very kind enough to think that everybody would love my book. So yeah, I think
it's very nice. You've had the right set of people who validated your work.
That's true.
Right?
No, but yeah, I mean, probably I didn't show it to many people. That's the thing.
Understood. So let's talk about the book, and starting with the title, A Fly on the Wall. My guess is that fly is a character, around which this entire book pivots. So do you want to talk us through that?
So I didn't. I think the poems came first and the title came later. Okay. So it wasn't the other way around. So as I read my poems, I just felt that at times I'm looking at things the way I'm looking at them. Maybe not the way others are, but I'm looking at it. And they don't know that I'm actually looking at them in that form. So then, and then at many times I felt I was, if there's one fly, then nobody really notices. When there are many flies, then immediately everybody is like, oh my God, this is too many flies here, what do we do with this? So, and especially when a fly on the wall is never noticeable. So I think that's where this came from. And that middle path, I think, is what a fly represented to me.
Understood. So, who is your audience? Who should read A Fly on the Wall?
So I think it could be anybody. Like there are poems for the children, because when it's a fly, you fly on a wall. Now this audience is the poets that are here, but the next group that could come here would be totally different. They could be just college kids that are sitting here. They could be an old generation coming to just have a good time. So you never know who is there. So I think my book really has a mix for everybody. And mostly it's on life, if you see. So I think life is, things that you pick up in life. If you knew this before, you would take it, you would go through life much more easier. That's what I feel. So I think to that extent is what, and it's written very simple, in a very simple language, with anybody could get it.
That's lovely. Very well said. Which means the book is for everybody, guys.
That's true.
It's very good to know. For people who love every kind of genre, A Fly on the Wall is the right book for you, right?
Yes.
Talk us through your experience in finding a publisher, because writing a book is one thing, but being able to identify the right publisher who will do the right justice to your book. It's a very important event in an author's life, right? So walk us through your journey, and for all aspiring writers out there, how can they simplify that journey for themselves when they've written a book and they want to find a publisher who would be willing to publish their work?
Yeah, so I don't think I really went about like that. So as I said, I never had an idea of publishing a book ever. It was never on my mind. I just wrote for the joy of writing, and I enjoyed that whole process. So in fact, I'm not even a literature student or an English student. So I always felt that lacking. I felt that maybe my poems are not to that kind of thing. So I never ever thought of writing. But I think one day I was on Insta and I saw a thing which said you write on 21 days. One of those things, there are many of those poems. So you write a poem a day for 21 days. And then I actually wrote that. I just enrolled thinking because there are many things in life I give up. If I push to a corner a lot, I'll just give up and I'll move on. So I thought, okay, one more thing I can do, I can just push myself, and if I can't, I'll just give up. And I was surprised that I actually finished writing 21 poems a day. Wow. And then they gave me this offer that you can put in some more poems if you wish to. So that's when I think my daughter really pushed me. She said, it's okay, you can just, because she's seen my poems, she's also been the person whom I read poems, I think as she was a child, ever since she was a child. So that's how it happened.
It's very nice. You have a very interesting story behind this book. Yeah. I mean, every answer that you've given is related. I mean, you've just simplified every answer in such a way which I think for a lot of us who actually want to write, we must realize that writing a book is not a very complex process. If you keep things simple, you might end up becoming an author, right? Excellent.
Yeah, and I think opportunities these days are quite good.
Yeah.
I think our times, it was much harder because poets were of a certain category, the writing has to be of a certain way. I think now it's opened up, like everybody is accepting of lots of things.
Excellent. So why don't you open this book and read a poem, your favorite poem. I'm sure there's a favorite page in there which you want to open and recite to us.
Yeah, so I don't have a favorite page. I think each one is different, but
so let's hear you recite one.
Yeah, somebody can tell me, what do you Raji, what poem can I read? Okay, so I'll read the first poem. Naked she walked, some laughed, others scorned. What's wrong? This is me. This is how I'm created. So what's the fuss about? A mother walked up to cover her up, even though it was hard to breathe under all the wraps. All eyes were off her. Relief it was. Normalcy found friends, and soon fashion dictated. Few layers came off, letting her breathe. She learned to juggle between naked and completely covered, to everything in between. At times, she put others at unrest, and at other times, she lived with the unrest. But the big revelation was no matter whether naked or covered, she exists, and her name is Truth.
Wow. Big highlights. This is just a trailer, guys. There's a lot of poems in that book, and I'm sure it has as much depth as the poem that she just recited, right? Excellent, Minnie. So, I think a very interesting chat. What I want to also ask you is, for a lot of people who are aspiring to become writers, I know you will say that you're not qualified to give them advice.
Absolutely.
I kind of thought that you would say that, but from your own experience, from your own journey altogether, what are 2-3 things from a discipline standpoint that writers should adhere to be able to compile a book or become an author one day?
I think the most important thing is the passion, the interest in writing or enjoying what you do. That is the first thing, I think. And then not judging your own work, which can be sometimes very scary, because every time we write, we first seek our own validation, we try to seek it from others and everything. So sometimes not seeking that validation, just writing for the pure joy of writing. I think that would be the key thing to do.
Lovely. I really like how in how simple words she's actually putting her answers across, right? So, what's the next milestone for Minnie Menon as an author? What's the next curtain revealer?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, and I don't think I work with goals in mind at all. I know it's not what the generation believes in. You need to have a goal and work towards it, but I'm not the person who sets goals.
Okay, very well said. Right, guys, so we'll leave the house open to the audience. We can take a couple of questions. We have a few minutes. Make sure they're tough questions, yeah. I think I was very nice. I asked very easy questions. Okay, Som has a question. Yes, Som. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about the editing process. Like, when you write the skeleton, do you keep on editing the poem, like, I don't know, maybe multiple times, or you go with the original thought that came to your mind and you just keep that as final?
Very good question, actually. Yeah, so I sometimes I edit so many times, about 10, 15 times, you never know, it keeps getting edited and the content remains same. But the editing process, I mean, it could be something else that I'm doing. Sometimes I edit and what was my original thought and the final poem could be totally two different things, or it's not two different things, but definitely not what I wanted it to turn out to be, and this thought also seemed fine, and then I'm tired of editing for 15 times, then I'll think, let this be, so I just let it be.
Nice question, so. One more question, guys. Anybody else? No hands? Oh, there's one question from Abhishek.
How do you not judge your own work? When you are writing something, it's a final version of it. And when I come back to it after, say, a couple of days, you look at it and you feel what have you written, and then you tend to edit it. At what point you finding the satisfaction to say yes?
Yeah, actually you're right. I mean, I think I didn't tell it right. It's not judging your work in that sense. See, or rather not judging to say that I'm not a good writer, I cannot write, I cannot do that. I meant that way as judging. But what is your matter that you have put in, or the thoughts that you have put in, the feelings that you put in, to not judge that. That way is what I actually meant when I said.
Thank you so much. I think very, very well answered. Yes, go ahead.
So what are your plans for promoting this? Writing and publishing it is another challenge. Like promote
Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah.
What is your plan?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought of any plan of promoting it.
Poets of Bangalore is the start.
So I think my
I'm using
Yeah.
different AI tools, okay? Coming up with riders, posters. So maybe I can. That's what I'm just asking.
Yeah. No, I really don't have one right now. But hopefully, maybe I should think in that direction.
Because my first book I hardly sold around like 20 books copies. That was my close friend's book. And the reason I found it was that I was not promoting.
Yes,
Now
yes.
I have a clear plan now.
Okay.
So starting from January 1st, I'm going to start that. Because so many. I'm doing it myself. It's all there. It's there.
Okay.
That's why I'm just-
Okay. Good. Maybe I should connect with you.
Excellent. This was a very interesting chat, Vinny. I think, honestly, I love the simplicity in all your answers, and so did everybody else. Extremely proud to have the opportunity to meet with you. Just a final note, your collaboration with Poets of Bangalore, and since you mentioned that you haven't really thought of a promotion plan, right? Uh, how did this collaboration see the light of the day? When did this happen? Like, when did you decide that I want to do, an author interview with Poets of Bangalore? Yeah, just talk us through this collaboration a little bit.
Yeah, so I think I'd come once before and kind of presented a poem, right? So I like the way it is, and I like the people who come here. I can see that there are people from all walks of life who are aspiring to be poets, who have something within them where they want to, kind of present their feelings and thoughts and everything. So that really touched me. Like, you don't imagine that everybody is an established poet and so they're coming here to kind of present their work. So I think that what Poets of Bangalore does is amazing, and you are amazing, I should say.
Yeah, I was just waiting for her to say that.
Yeah. So I didn't disappoint you.
No, thank you very much. Really interesting chat, guys. Like I said, she's going to be around. She's got with her a lot of copies, right? Please use this opportunity to meet her, interact with her a little bit more, get to know more about the book. I know we have limited time, so we can't ask all the questions here, but she's happy to answer questions for you if you must. Yeah, and please don't forget to pick up a copy. I think by what we hear from the first poem, there's a lot of depth in this book, and that depth can do us a lot of good, trust me. Yeah.
No, it's a mix of everything. There are some poems which could have been much better or not good at all. So you
Says
have a
every
mix.
author, every writer. Yeah. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much, Ms. Mini. I think it was
Thank
a
you.
great
Thank you,
chat,
Abhishek.
and all the best with this book. Yeah?
Thank you.
All the